Old Fort Jackson used to be a Confederate stronghold before Sherman's famous March to the Sea. It's while this place was held by the Confederates that our ghost story unfolds. It was 1862 and the American Civil War was in full swing. Fort Jackson was stationed with a Confederate unit tasked with preventing any Union forces from coming up the Savannah River. Among their ranks was a private by the name of Patrick Garrity, who by all accounts absolutely craved violence. This guy was classified as a real troublemaker by his compatriots. They described him as having a bad temper and that he was prone to having fits, a real berserker type with a hair trigger. Exactly the kind of guy you wouldn't mind turning loose in a battle against your mortal enemy, but as a soldier set in the environment of Fort Jackson, which called for a lot of hurry up and wait, well, it made Patrick Garrity a loose cannon, prone to having fits and fighting with his fellow soldiers, and in some instances, even arguing with his own command. This led to what can only be described as a delusional animosity and hatred for the fort's serving lieutenant, a man by the name of Dixon. One night, Garrity found himself once again with the short fuse he possessed well lit for whatever reason. Garrity was on guard duty on the outside perimeter of the fort when he happened to spot Lieutenant Dickerson crossing the fort's drawbridge. Enraged for who knew what reason this time, Garrity crept up on Dickerson and rather than shooting the lieutenant, chose instead to beat him to death using his firearm as a bludgeoning weapon. Of course, the altercation drew the attention of two nearby soldiers, and that's when things got even dumber on Private Garrity's part, when he chose to make his escape by jumping into the fort's moat, when he didn't know how to swim. His fellow soldiers decided to save themselves the trouble of trying and hanging Garrity and essentially stood off to the side and let the problem sort itself out. Garrity drowned, and now his angry and sullen ghost supposedly haunts the scene of his crime and untimely demise. Other ghostly presences have been reported at Fort Jackson, aside from Garrity's lingering spirit. There have been told the sightings of shadowy figures maintaining the night's watch atop Fort Jackson's 21-foot high and 3-foot thick walls. So too can the eerie sound of marching booted feet be heard emanating from inside the stout structure. If you find yourself on the drawbridge and feel an unnatural chill, now you know why, my little strangelings. Until next time, happy hauntings.